Welcome, everybody, to the Rye-Town Park Commission meeting of July 20th, 2021. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. The flag is here. In case those of us who have forgotten where it is. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stand for a moment. Former Mayor Dennis Pilla passed away last week, Mayor of Portchester and a member of the Rye-Town Park Commission for several years. I'd like to have a moment of silence in his memory, please. Thank you. This is our first live meeting since the COVID emergency. I think the previous meeting was in February of 2020, so this is a long time coming. To tell you the truth, it feels a bit unusual, and I've spoken to my compatriots up here. I know that Rybrook has had one meeting. The city of Rye will have its first meeting this week. The village of Portchester, in advance of everybody, has been meeting for months. So, but it's good to be live, and I think it may get some getting used to be in person again. The Zooms had a certain advantage, but I don't think there's anything like being face-to-face with the public and with your fellow board members. Debbie, please call the roll.
Yes. Acting Commissioner Klein?
Here.
Commissioner Cohn?
Here and in need of a paper agenda, if you have one.
I will bring one
Thank
up
you.
soon. Pardon me, Commissioner Marino?
Here.
Commissioner Jackson?
Here.
Acting Commissioner Mecca?
Here.
President Zuckerman?
Here. Thank you. First matter is adoption of the minutes of June 15th, 2021. May I have, unless there are additions or corrections, may I have a motion and a second for that?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Public comment on non-agenda items. Does any member of the public in the building currently wish to speak on items that are not on the agenda? Seeing none, Debbie, do we have anybody on Facebook who wishes to make a comment?
There are no comments yet.
Thank you. First item of business is resolution authorizing the submission of a New York State Consolidated funding application. Every year, with the exception of last year, the state comes out with an application process for many of its programs. The Rye-Town Park Commission has been lucky to be the recipient of at least one major grant through this process, and the Parks Department. This year, we are applying for the following items. Number one are the tunnel bathrooms, and secondly, the mats to go from the ramps to the beach. I put those first because we also have applied to the county through the Consolidated CDBG, for short, program through the Urban County Coalition. And if we're lucky to get both grants, it may cost the Park Commission virtually no local funding. The other two applications are applications that we have submitted previously without success. One is for the green parking lot through the Environmental Facilities Corporation, and the other one is for the exterior of the bathhouse. Both of those, as I said, were previously applied for, and we didn't get a grant for either. We are hoping that we will get a grant this time. I would like to point out that the fact that we're making the application doesn't mean, obviously, that we're going to get a grant. And also, if we should receive a grant, the potential grant agreement is subject to the further approval of the Park Commission, so that we're not bound to accept the grant. For example, if it's an amount far less than we expect that would involve a much greater local share, we are not bound to accept that grant. Are there any comments? Josh, I know that you may wish to.
Yes, thank you, Gary. Gary and I have had quite a few discussions of this already. I can support the application for the tunnel bathrooms, for the mats, but as I've stressed before, I'm very eager to see the Rye-Town Park Commission's capital expenditure program dovetail with the budgetary process of the City of Rye. The City of Rye, of course, becomes responsible for a substantial portion, excuse me, of the cost of any of these capital expenditures. And so while there may indeed be merit in the bathhouse exterior work, there may be merit in the parking lot renovation, we don't yet have costs, we don't have sufficient plans that have been presented to the Rye City Council for at least a preliminary approval. So in view of that, and actually in response to Gary's request, well, let me add one other thing. I'm not, and our council, our Rye City Council, doesn't typically apply for grants with the thought that we may turn the grant money down if we don't get the grant. That is, we would regard that as an awkward position. I would regard that as an awkward position for the Rye-Town Park Commission, but others on the commission may feel differently. So again, I've discussed this with Gary. Gary has indicated that he doesn't have an extended list of projects in mind beyond these projects. As I've said, these projects may have merit. And so in response to Gary's request, I'm going to abstain when it's time to vote. If others on the commission think that this should go forward, well, cast your votes accordingly.
Thank you, Josh. I just wanted to say one in addition. I have no problem with Josh's concept that the capital work of the commission should align with both the capital processes of the city and the capital processes of the town. The town itself is responsible for almost 60% of the capital cost. The advantage to this program is that even if we get the grant award, we have a 5-year period in which to execute the work. And that should align properly with the budget processes of both the city and the town. So I'm hopeful that if we do get these awards, that it will align and we can accept it. I just want to say one further thing about not accepting the award. We would obviously want to accept the award, but we have no control over how much money the state would grant us. And the last award we got for $300,000 was on an application of $500,000, which left us $200,000 short of the work that we had intended to do and hopefully will still get accomplished. So we have to work that formula in when we decide to go forward with the work. We definitely, for example, don't want to be in a position if we get a grant for $500,000, if we apply for a grant for $500,000 and only get $100,000, we don't want to be in a position where we have to fund all the remainder of that work ourselves. But that remains to be seen, and that's a decision that would be made next year. The grants are not awarded until December, and if we should be lucky to get them, then we can make that decision. The Green Infrastructure Grant is only a 10% match. The others are 50% match. So that would be a very attractive grant to get, should we be so fortunate to get it. Does anybody have anything else to say? Lindsay, Richard, Jason?
I would like to add that I am in support of this resolution and feel that we should move forward with the application. This is only providing us with an opportunity to move forward with the necessary repairs. We're not necessarily committing to spending money. However, if we don't move forward, we will not have the grant funding to move forward, and we will limit our options in the coming years. So this is a way to keep the door open and move forward with making the necessary improvements to the park as we see fit.
Thank you, Lindsay. Richard, anything?
Well, I'm in agreement with Mayor Cohn that, you know, every August we go through a capital improvement plan in the city of Rye, and our wish list is just getting longer and longer. And to include potential capital improvements for the park would be nice to have as a planning measure, that the potential is there for the city of Rye to kick in for whatever grants you have. So I'm agreeing with Mayor Cohn that everything needs to get done, and everyone has been suffering with infrastructure repairs or non-repairs. However, representing the financial structure of Rye, it'd be nice to have a forward-looking project of the potential costs so that we also can plan. And again, our capital improvement program comes out every August, and that's something we should be doing soon. And it'd be nice to have Rye-Town Parks plans for future funds to be incorporated in our dream list.
Well,
Thank you.
with regard to that, Richard, I think that we'll have harder numbers on the parking lot and on the building exterior so that you could contemplate that. And once again, it doesn't have to be for 2022 coming up. It could be for 2023 and 24. So keeping that in mind. Louis, anything?
No, I'm gonna listen, and I agree with Lindsay, and it needs to be fixed. It's time to do it. I know it's hard, you know, if you let it go, it's gonna keep building, and eventually it's gotta get done.
Thank you.
It's either way. Thank you, sir.
Jason?
First a question, I noticed the resolution says applications. So these are being submitted separately?
No, it's through the CFA program, but the applications will be sent out. One, the parking lot is through the Environmental Facilities Corporation, and the other ones are through Parks.
Okay, and you stated that some of these have been submitted in the past. So
Yes, the green infrastructure parking lot and the exterior of the bathhouse.
okay, so those have been approved by this commission in the past. And then I guess as a comment, you have a capital plan for the park. I think, you know, it's pretty obvious that the only way really to get that done is through grants. So I'm certainly in favor of this.
You have a special knowledge of this, don't you?
Yes, I've applied for many CFAs myself, working for the county. That I've applied for a lot of different CFAs, and unfortunately, I haven't been so successful with most of them. And so I understand the process. I also understand that there is, you do have some time to work towards achieving the goals. And I think, to at least get it out there and apply year after year, I think is important. And especially for something, and certainly my background very much in support of the Green Infrastructures project and working towards that.
Thank you, Jason.
And I'm glad that's being applied for separately outside of some of the other applications.
Thank you. May I have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion.
I'll give you a second.
Thank you. Please call the roll, Debbie.
Yes. Acting Commissioner Klein,
Yes.
Commissioner Cone,
Abstain.
Commissioner Marino,
Yes.
Commissioner Jackson,
Yes.
Acting Commissioner Mecca,
I'm going to abstain.
President Zuckerman.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And as Mayor Cohn mentioned, we've had some extensive talks about that. We have a lot of agreements, we have some disagreements, and hopefully we can go forward and be very collegial in getting the work of the park moving forward. Next item is a pleasure. Pollinator Garden Progress presentation from the Friends of Rytown Park. Looking forward to this. Who's making that presentation?
Can you stand up?
We have this beautiful, we have,
Okay.
we have this beautiful podium.
Say your new address, say your name and your new address. Yeah, you can say, I'm gonna begin here. Lori Fontanes, 11 Hayward Place, my new home. This won't take long. This is a warm and fuzzy presentation. First of all, we are so thrilled to get your support because this project would not have happened without this commission and with the Friends of Rytown Park, who fully funded the project. But I have a very short list of things to tell you about. First of all, we have pollinators. It's already better. We've been down there and sort of tracking because in addition to, well, we had some ringers. Russ Gold is our new beekeeper, so we brought our own honeybees, but again, funded by the Friends of Rytown Park. But what I noted when I did the analysis a year ago was that we didn't have that many. I came over to Crawford and things were buzzing here at Crawford, but at Rytown Park it was a little sad. And so we got a bunch of volunteers together and we said we got to fix this. And so the Friends of Rytown Park have funded this project. Bill Lawyer was he's not here tonight, but I can't not thank Bill Lawyer because it was his genius who said, Lori, what are you doing? It's COVID and it's summer, can you help me? And that's how I got involved. So Diana Page and Jamie Jensen from the Friends of Rytown Park have been hugely supportive. Could not have done it without Russ Gold, who literally is down there with us digging. And Vic Federico, who I don't see here, but he's also been a huge part of this. Amy Kesavan, I think you guys may know from the Sustainability Committee. She was one of our master gardeners. Sue Druin was the key master gardener who brought things in. And Ann Matola, again, a Rye resident, who did all of our artwork. So please come to the park, look at the signs we put up. Next phase will be bringing, an educational component to it, maybe bringing some docents in, and of course, making an even friendlier park for our pollinators. So again, thank you all for supporting this project.
Thank you, Lori. And before we go on, does anybody else want to speak on this? No? I just want to say Russ's name was mentioned. Russ is our beekeeper. I don't know how he became our beekeeper, but he's our beekeeper. And he has presented each of us, I don't know if the camera can see this, Rytown Park. This is honey. This is real honey, fresh honey, from the bees at Rytown Park. And I think that it's really wonderful.
Just a small gesture of our gratitude for supporting the effort. So thank you all, and more to come.
What's the obvious name for this?
Well,
Russ Gold. Yes?
no, it's Pollinator Pathway.
That's great. That's great. Thank you all. I think this is really wonderful. This is what a park is for. Presentation from the Barley Beach House.
Hello everyone, I am Jenna Petrillo. I'm the events manager at Barley Beach House here with Bobby, one of the owners from the restaurant. And we
Can you speak into the microphone? Thank you.
Sorry. So we have put together a proposal, which you may have seen, that Debbie sent around for an event in the park, mid-September. It's called the Westchester Wine Walk. So our thought, just a general overview of the event is, it's family-friendly. People would come to the park. They would purchase a ticket, which would give them admission to the event and allow for 10 1-ounce, so really small, wine tastings. We would have stations set up throughout the park with different wines, different regions. That would be accompanied by different foods like cheese with the French wine, and things like that. And would have live music at the North Gate and a buffet of food there as well for after they had finished their wine tastings. They'd only be allowed a certain amount, the 10, so that people weren't getting drunk in the park. We would control it with different wristbands for 21 and over, and then under 21. So we would have our staff as well as the wine reps checking for that at each station. Yeah, we just want a really fun post-COVID, get people out to the park, have a great day event. So that's sort of what we've come up with. I don't know if Bobby, you have anything to add? So just wanted to get your, hopefully, blessing on that and answer any questions you might have.
Anybody have any questions? Jason?
The one question that occurred to me when I was looking at the backup materials is that is it going to be the same price for all attendees, so children, adults?
So we've been discussing whether to do a discounted ticket, like if Bobby was to bring his daughter, who's 2 or 3 years old, obviously she wouldn't be paying $65 for wine, so it would just be something to cover the cost of the food that we'd be serving at the buffet, or just keeping it open to include if someone wanted to bring their kids.
I
and
just
not-
didn't know if you were maybe doing the family pricing.
Right, yeah, we've been discussing the different tiers. This is sort of the price that we're comfortable with for the admission for people that would be drinking one, and then we've been talking amongst ourselves if we wanted to have that second option for a family package or just the kids kind of thing. But yes, thank you, it's something that we've definitely been considering.
No, I would just like to thank you guys because you've been very supportive of the community since you've been here. And I think every event we've had at Rytown Park, you've contributed to, and I'm very grateful for that. You guys are fantastic. I think this is a nice event. It doesn't seem to be one of those rowdy kind of festivals. And it's also a great way to showcase the park. So
Yes, thank you.
thank you for bringing this proposal forward.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah, same way, I'm a big supporter, that's really fantastic. Just one question, do you have any rainy day?
So, sure, yes.
That's right.
We were planning to move it to the next day if it was to rain. And if it looks like a rainy forecast, we would just look at the calendar and pick a date that worked with you guys as well. And bump it, which we can send out communication to everyone that purchases the ticket online, so.
Are you limiting it to 100 attendees?
That's our target, but that's what we're hoping for. So the way that the online ticketing system works, we can shut it down if we feel like we're at capacity. We can keep it open if we feel like we need to sell more tickets. So it's kind of just dependent on the response.
Anybody else? All right, I think should we make an informal motion just to accept the wine walk as presented?
Make a motion.
Thank you, second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much,
Thank you.
and good luck.
Thank you.
Did you guys want to hear from me at all? Is there any questions you had about the restaurant, or? you're all
Do you
set?
have anything you want to say?
No, no. So far, it's been a good season, and we're just hoping the weather stays on our side again, so that's all I got.
The weather is always the problem. I know you got
We're
hit,
working on it.
I know you got hit on July 4th, everybody
And
did.
Memorial Day,
And Memorial Day, yeah, I know.
nothing anyone can do about that, so,
Yeah.
Okay,
all right.
can't
Thank
do
you.
much about it. Thank you, Bobby. Okay. We're up to our management report, oh my God. How the meeting flies. I think that the management report is submitted, has everybody read it? Russ, you want to make a comment on it at all? No? Caught you by surprise? Caught you by surprise?
No, I mean, I don't have it memorized, so
Thank you. We have a revenue report. Aylone is going to make a short presentation. Before we get to that, Debbie, you have a comment on our financial statements? Because I was reading them through, and I think especially, I think we're doing fairly well.
The financial statements, the one thing I think is important to remark on is that our 2021 budget is very conservative, which was in keeping with the year that we had in 2020. When we were preparing our budget and voting on our budget, we had no idea how the world post-pandemic was going to look. As things have opened up, we've had much better success and many more avenues of revenue than we could hope for. So I'm delighted to say that at the moment we are operating with a surplus, and that's what I really wanted to point out. The agenda has both the May and also the June report. So this is through June 30th, so it doesn't include July at all. Any other questions I can answer?
Nope. Not for me.
Okay.
Aylone, floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to see everyone's back in person. Okay. So, thank you very much. This presentation, as I've done in other instances, is going to take a look at a brief revenue analysis of what the park has done so far, as well as introduce some year-end projections. I would make a note that on the agenda packet in iCompass, there's a memo included in there that is a previous version of what you're going to see here. I just haven't had a chance to update it, but just so you guys are aware. But also I do want to thank Debbie, Russ, Sarah Suma, Jose Oliveras for helping me with the last minute data changes. They were of great assistance. So just a brief overview of no new information on this slide. These are the actuals for 2 years ago, 2019, and then last year, 2020, as well as what the commission budgeted for 2021. Like I mentioned, this is all data and information that we know about. The only thing that I would note here is that it's clear, as Debbie mentioned, the pandemic has had a significant and very obvious impact on revenues, specifically when it comes to beach and parking going slightly decreasing and permits increasing. So going into more of the nitty-gritty, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this because I don't want to get too lost into the details, but I just wanted to show here for each of the three categories, starting with parking. The year-end projection right now looks to be about $251,000. This was calculated based on, at this point being the second weekend in July, the weekend after Independence Day. In the last 2 years, it's been about 55%. And so taking that calculation, it looks like it's going to be at about $251,000 at the year end, which is great because that's about $80,000 over what the commission had budgeted for this year. Doing the same calculation with beach revenues, as you can see here, beach revenues have not performed as expected. Currently, it's down significantly from last year. The year-end projection for this is $274,000. Again, by the second weekend in July, we're making about 50% of beach revenues that we will be making for the entire season. So translating to this year, that's going to be about $274,000. Unfortunately, that's about $106,000 under what the commission had budgeted for this year. Last category is the permit sales, and thankfully, permits are record-breaking this year. As of July 11th, we have $509,120 in permit sales. That includes open water swim, and that is greater than the entire year of last year, which ended up being $454,000. The other thing to note is, at this point, there's only a few more permits to sell. I believe permit sales typically close around August 1st, so we only have about 4% more in permit revenue to be expected. That leaves us with $530,678. The reason why it's not a rounded number is because it's a mathematical calculation, but it's going to be on or about that area for the year end for permits.
The only thing I would add to that, Aylone, is that the permit office closed in July, but permit sales online continue throughout. We don't shut it down. So
Okay.
anyone can go through the website to get a permit.
Oh, thank you for that. And this slide is just a summary of the prior three slides, looking at 2020 actual, 2021 adopted. The 2021 year-end estimated figures are all here, and the variance from the adopted, we're looking at a $69,390 increase over what was budgeted for this year. Just note that this includes $12,000 for the cellular lease agreement, which was not included in the budget for this year. Are there any questions so far? Otherwise, I have two more slides to show.
Just a quick question, and I apologize because, I'm fairly new to this and don't make many meetings, but I would assume that the fact that the beach passes are down is because more permits were issued? People aren't paying for the beach passes as they're coming in? Because it seems to me from your presentation that the non-resident share is probably about the same, the number of people who are non-residents visiting. Is that a correct correlation? I'm just curious.
I actually do not have the resident, non-resident breakdown for beach, but I'll make a note of that and certainly get back to you. The one thing I just remembered now that I forgot to mention was one of the reasons why permit sales have increased dramatically, not just because of the pandemic, with non-permit holders having more limited access than permit holders, but staff has also worked since the beginning of this year to go through the vehicles that are registered on permits and be able to ensure that those vehicles actually match up with the permit holders, I believe, with the family permits specifically. And that's also a reason why there's an increase in permits. But I will certainly get back to you on the non-resident versus resident question.
And I think
If I can yeah, I'm sorry, just add one point to that. One of the reasons why I believe daily beach passes are down is because last year, compared to last year, because last year there were very limited options for people as far for swimming venues. Many of them did not open. This year, they're all back open, and by example, Playland used to only open their beach 5 days a week. This year, they're open 7 days a week, so they're a direct competitor to us at a lower price point, right next door.
That's
I
also
think
seen
that-
in the open water swim, because last year, we had a number of swim teams take open water
Yeah.
swim passes. We had well over 400, and those swim teams are back in their pools.
Right.
And I would gather there are sort of, we do allow permit holders into the beaches earlier in parking lots, or is that just residents versus non-residents?
No, you're correct.
Yeah,
So
that would be an
permit holders and residents
Yes.
are permitted to park before noon on holidays and weekends.
Mhm. So that would be an incentive.
Right,
Get a
to,
pass as
yes,
opposed
it
to
was
a-
an incentive for people to buy permits who might not have bought them. I'd also comment that the weather has been really rainy and cold this season.
Except for today.
Yep, both of those factors are definitely true. It's a much greater incentive with how all the policies are currently set up, that folks should definitely buy permits, full season pass permits, because they'll be able to enter the park earlier. They'll be able to be unlimited during the weekends. And most of them have to do with permits specifically. This slide shows the breakdown of all the permits. The only thing here to note is that as of July 16th, all permit categories have exceeded our season last year, with the exception of open water swim.
Went up this year?
No,
Okay, it's.
the cost is the same.
Okay.
And the last slide just shows the demographic breakdown of the permit